Pick up your phone right now, dial your own firm, Saturday night, doesn't matter what time, 9 p.m, 11 p.m, 2 a.m. Whatever happens next is what every potential client of yours has heard at least once this year. Across one Dallas-Fort Worth criminal defense firm, about 37 people make that call on a typical weekend. And when I dug into the weekend calls, the pattern was brutal. They weren't reaching intake, they were hitting voicemail. And in this video, I'm going to show you what that might be costing you. This is finding one in my criminal defense intake series. I analyzed about 3,500 calls in one Dallas-Fort Worth criminal defense firm, and I'm breaking down the biggest pieces where cases leak out of the funnel. In the pillar video, I broke down 6 biggest findings from the full audit. I'll link that video on screen and in the description for the full overview. This video is the deep dive on finding 2, the weekend black hole, because arrests don't keep business hours, but most criminal defense firm intake systems do. Quick recap from the pillar video. We analyzed about 3,500 calls in that one firm. We found 37 weekend calls on average in a typical weekend. At the weekday qualification rate, that should produce about 4 qualified opportunities. Actual result was 0 closed. That was the headline. But today, I want to go deeper, because when I went inside the calls, the story got sharper. This wasn't just a weekend coverage problem. This was a voicemail problem. I went into the actual transcripts, pulled a sample of weekend calls, listened to the recordings, and here's what I found. In the weekend sample I reviewed, not a single call was answered by a human. Everyone went straight to voicemail. Now, that part you could probably guess. Most law firms don't staff weekends. The shocking part is what happened next. About 60% of the weekend callers hung up the moment they heard the voicemail prompt. They didn't even leave a message. They didn't say a word. Another small chunk said 1 or 2 words and then trailed off. Less than a quarter of weekend callers actually recorded a usable voicemail with a callback number. So your weekend pipeline isn't leaking. It's evaporating before you can even see what was in it. Most of these callers dial your firm, listen to your recording, and make a decision in about 8 seconds. This isn't worth my time. I'm gonna go call the next firm in the search results. You don't know who they were. You don't know what they needed. You don't know whether they were a great case or a terrible case, because they did not leave a fingerprint. So the question becomes, why are people dialing and then bailing inside of 10 seconds? Call your own firm tonight, seriously. Call your firm at 11 p.m. on a Saturday and listen to what a scared caller actually hears. Set aside the call tracking software preamble at the top. That part is often required, the part that says this call is going to be recorded. It's not a choice, but what I'm talking about is the part that the firm actually controls. At most criminal defense firms, it sounds something like this. You have reached the law office of X firm providing legal services in criminal and family law. Client confidentiality will be preserved at all times. For new client inquiries, press 1. For billing, press 2. For general assistance, press 3. 20 seconds in, and the caller still hasn't been told what to do next. They've been read a confidentiality disclosure. They've been told what type of law the firm practices, which they already knew because they Googled it before dialing. They have not been asked their name. They have not been told when somebody will call them back. They've not been given a reason to even stay on the line. And that is the key insight. Your voicemail is filtering out your best leads, not your weekend coverage, your voicemail. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. I went through the weekend voicemails that did get left, every single word. I tagged the case type, I tagged who was calling, and across every substantive weekend voicemail in the sample, 0 mentioned DUI, 0 mentioned jail or being in custody, 0 mentioned bondo but bail, 0 mentioned the domestic violence incident, 0 mentioned the assault. Exactly 1 voicemail across the weekends I listened to mentioned a recent arrest. It was a public intox case from the night before. The caller said it was his first charged. He asked about expungement, he left a callback number. That was the 1 arrest related voicemail that survived the weekend funnel. Now here's why that matters. On weekdays at this firm, DWI callers qualify at 61%. Assault callers qualify at 60%. Domestic violence callers qualify at 64%. But on a weekend, those categories don't appear in the voicemails at all. And I want to be careful here because I can't prove that they're the ones hanging up. This is a working hypothesis, but it's the most defensible explanation. Because if those callers were leaving voicemails, we would see them in the data. We don't. So the hypothesis is that these callers your firm wants most, the just arrested, the just booked, the spouse calling from the kitchen table at midnight, are exactly the callers who don't leave voicemails. They hang up and they call the next firm. which means the surface number may actually underestimate the problem because the caller who leaves a calm voicemail might not be the highest value caller. The highest value caller might be the one who disappears before your intake team ever know they existed. So let's put a number on it, because the question is not just are weekend calls getting missed, the question is what is that costing you? Here's the math. Start with 4 qualified weekend opportunities. That's the pillar number. That comes from about 37 weekend calls multiplied by the weekend qualification rate. Now multiply by the close rate. Let's stay conservative. Let's say your firm closes 30% of qualified criminal defense leads. 4 qualified opportunities times 30% equals 1.2 cases per weekend. Now multiply by retainer. Average criminal defense retainer values massively. A DWI might be one number, a felony might be another. Let's stay conservative and use $3,000 per case. 1.2 cases per weekend times 3,000 equals 3,600 per weekend. Multiply that by 52. That's about 187,000 a year. That's not a guaranteed number. That's not a specific dollar claim about this firm. That is a conservative calculation based on these inputs: weekend call volume, qualification rate, close rate, average retainer. Your firm may be higher, your firm may be lower. But once you run the math, you realize the weekend is not a small operational detail. For many firms, this can land in the high 5 figures or 6 figures a year. And that is before you account for the funnel collapse, before you account for the fact that 60% of callers may hang up at voicemail, before you account for the fact that the highest value case types may not be leaving messages at all. So run it on your firm. Your weekend call volume, your qualification rate, your close rate on qualified leads, your average retainer, multiply them together, multiply by 52. That is your annual weekend leakage range. Not perfect, not exact, but far better than pretending the number is 0, because it's not. Now here's the good news. This is fixable, and you don't have to start by hiring a full weekend intake team. There are 3 fixes in order of cost. Fix number 1. I want you to go and re-record the voicemail. The cost is $0. It takes 20 seconds, 4 lines. All you need is name, urgency, promise, specifics. So first name, you've reached firm X, criminal defense in Y market. Second, urgency. If you're calling about an arrest, a jail booking, or something happening right now, stay on the line. The third is the promise. Leave your name and number. We'll call you back within 2 hours, even on Saturday, even at midnight. Fourth, specifics. If you have court on Monday morning, mention it and we'll prioritize. That's it. The caller now knows they called the right place. They know what to do next. They know when they might hear back, and they have a reason to stay on the line. If that recovers even 1 extra signed case a month, that's $3,500 retainer. That's $42,000 a year of recovered revenue from a voicemail change that costs you nothing. Fix number 2 is an automated SMS callback. The cost is about $30 a month. Every time a weekend call hits voicemail, an SMS fires back within 60 seconds. This is firm. We saw you called. Reply yes to book Monday 8 a.m. or text urgent if you can't wait. Now the caller knows you exist. Now they have a way to escalate. Now the hang up is not the end of the funnel. At $30 a month, that's $360 a year. If it recovers 1 weekend deal at a $3,500 retainer, you're already ahead. Fix number 3 is a live answering service with attorney on-call routing. This is the real fix. A service like Blazio can route qualified calls instead of making the firm pay blindly for every random weekend inquiry. Usually this costs a few $100s a month, and typically they charge 18 to 20 per qualified lead. But if your weekend leakage is even on the low end, the service can pay for itself within 1 signed case a week. And here's the part that should make every criminal defense firm owner lean in. Your competitors probably aren't doing this. Almost none of them are. The weekend is one of the easiest market share grabs in criminal defense. Nobody's there. Be the firm that picks up. So here are the 2 takeaways. 1, your weekend leakage is real. And for many criminal defense firms, the math can land in the high 5 figures or 6 figures a year. I want you to run that calculator on your own firm. Use conservative inputs, use aggressive inputs, find your range. 2, the fix is not necessarily more staff. It's better triage. Start with the voicemail, then add SMS, then add live answering and attorney on-call routing if the numbers support it for your firm. I encourage you to go listen to your own voicemail tonight. Just call your firm and listen what you sound like at 11 p.m. on a Saturday. If you don't fix anything else this week, fix what your phone says when nobody is there to pick it up. This is part of a full intake series breaking down the biggest findings from about 3,500 criminal defense calls. Pillar video with all 6 findings is linked on screen and in the description. To have me run this math against your firm's actual call data, use the link in the description. There's no pitch. I just think every criminal defense firm should be doing this audit at least once a year. And the next finding is on the screen behind me. Hit subscribe.